Hello there, welcome back. It's your man in a shed, Andy P. Back here once again, as you expect, in the shed. So, how are we all doing? I hope we're all well out there, wherever in the world you're listening, and obviously beyond, because let's not be racist. We will, obviously, when we're able to, transmit to the aliens out there as well. So, the question would be if I was to go in one direction out of planet Earth, how far would it be until I hit anything? Who knows? Who cares? That's a question for another day. But today we're going to talk about people's driving and disability when it comes to driving. So, couple of little matters here. When you're driving, your gears are to go, your brakes are to slow. It's not just a saying, it's there for a reason. Basically, what I'm saying is you only need to use the gears going forward, and when you slow down to the appropriate speed, you then put it into the appropriate gear. You do not need to keep going down through the gearbox. This was something that was needed many years ago, back to the 50s, when there were drum brakes. We now have disc brakes. Disc brakes are fantastic, and even on a vehicle which is about 30 or 40 years old, they're going to have disc brakes on the front. Lots of cars now have ceramic brakes. You do not need to use the gearbox to slow down. It's a myth, it's an old wives' tale. We don't need it anymore. Just accelerate in your gears, brake, go into the appropriate gear. Do not keep going through your bleeding gearbox, people. This is what causes fuel waste. Also, you're going up to the traffic lights. You can see that turning red. Just take your foot off the accelerator. You don't need to brake yet unless you're right on the lights. You have that a couple of 100 yards away. Ease off the gas. Check in your mirrors first. Ease off the gas. And just gradually slow down. By doing this, you're going to save fuel. What I'm basically doing here, people, is giving you tips on how to save money. Because, let's be fair, petrol or diesel, whichever you use, it's expensive. And the less you spend on it, the more money you've got in your pockets. You can say, hey Andy, thanks for the money saving tips, man. You're awesome. Yeah, of course I am. Anyway, so it's the standard of driving on the road. People, let's be fair, they go for their driving test. They might have a little look at the highway code. They have to do a theory test. Let's be fair, when I done my theory test, you got a book, you read through it. Don't even think I did that. Done the theory test and blanked it. When I was becoming a driving instructor, which I was for a couple of years, I actually studied it and actually had a book. It had all the questions in there. So just read them. Just read them. Use the highway code for a few clues. To me, driving rules are a bit like football rules. You basically know the rules of football because, we may watch it every week or every couple of weeks. You've still got an understanding of it. A few rules change here and there. Let's be fair, offside. Yep, and VAR, that's made it interesting. But, you still have the basic understanding of the rules of football. But if someone was to say, okay, what's the 15th rule of football? Yeah, I ain't got a clue. But you understand the basic concept of it being 11 against 11. And I think the road is roughly the same. The best thing you can do when you're out on the road is drive in a bubble. For the last year or so now, we've all been in our 2 meter stay away from me bubble. Let's be fair, it has helped with certain people. That means they can't come near you, which is a good thing. But you should be doing the same on the road. Drive in a nice big bubble. Don't go right up behind the car in front. Ease off a bit. You can still go at the same speed as them, but you're going to be a lot further behind. Ideally 2 seconds. At least 2 seconds behind them. But ideally, if you're driving 5 or 6 seconds behind them, If they start to brake, you've got plenty of time to think. If the gaps between all the cars are bigger, then the speed isn't such an issue. You know, people say, oh, speeding is really bad. Speeding is bad, and I will get onto that in a moment. But the problem is, on a motorway, for example, it isn't necessarily the speed that people do which potentially causes an accident. Obviously, you know, in this country, we're not trained during our driving lessons and afterwards to travel at high speed like the police are. But, and you know, and you ask any fireman what it's like to cut someone out, I'm sure they're going to give you some nice graphic details. You know, we may come on to that at another day. Anyway, so it's not necessarily the speed, it's the distance that people allow. And it's also, you know, people don't necessarily look after their car as best they should. We probably don't, any of us. Maybe there might be a couple of people out there who every day they go around and they check their wheels, make sure that they're legal. I certainly don't. They check engine oil and water and all that. All these things that we should be checking, but yeah, who really does? Anyway, so, you know, a few little tips here, I hope. So going back to the speed, if you've got a nice big gap between you and the car in front and the car behind you is a good distance back, you're probably not going to crash into each other. You know, assess the situations. If it's foggy, you probably don't want to be going 100 miles an hour down that country lane. Probably don't really want to be doing that anyway. Anyway, right, Rock? Anyway. So yeah, so it's not necessarily the speed, it's the gaps, but you know, you should control your speeds. Now give yourself enough time to get there. My old favourite was, oh yeah, you're nearly there. Oh yeah, I'm just round the corner. This was in the day where you were actually allowed to use your mobile phone when driving. Never did it myself, don't recommend it. But then you find out they're actually still at home and still about half an hour from choosing which shirt to wear. Again, that's probably one for another video. Anyway, so yeah, keep your distance from behind people, ease off the gas, because why accelerate up to a red light? Because let's be fair, unless you're really close, really far away from it, it's not likely to go green by the time you get there. So all you're doing is wasting fuel. So save on your fuel, save money. Yeah, it's all good. Anyway, so what else is there? Parking. Okay, so the best way to park in a bay is to always reverse in it. Okay, you might have a bit of shopping to put in the boot, but the advantage of reverse parking into a bay is when you go to leave, you can see. One of my favourite things is, say I go to the shop with the wife. She's like, oh, we must pop into Tesco's. Okay, so I'll reverse park in. She used to say, oh, why do you always reverse? Because it's easier. Certainly when I'm coming up. So you reverse park in there and you're sat there and you watch all the morons coming in, especially little granny. She's like, oh, there's a space there. And she turns her wheel and there's another car there. So she reverses back a bit. She then sort of gets in the gap. Oh, I'm not very straight. So she'll reverse back. She'll drive in. Sometimes it can take 6 or 7 attempts, this. You think, well, if you just reversed in, it would have been easier. Or even better, they drive into the space, they then reverse back into another space behind them. So now they'll be parked ideally, and then they drive back in it. Anyway, so the advantage of reverse parking into your bay, so you're actually facing the way you want to drive when you leave, is you can see, okay? Even if you've got a van next to you, you can edge forward and you can see. If you're parked the other way, how far out do you need to go? You know, how many cars could smash into you? It's safer, it's easier. Also, if you're parked in a multi-storey car park and it is at night, if you got cars either side of you, but you've parked in and somebody was there to try, you get in your car and someone tries to attack you, the door's in the way. You can use the door as a barrier. They then run round the other way. You close that door, you lock your doors and you cough. You're out of there. So your doors can protect you. So yeah, always reverse park. Even if you got shopping, okay, it's going to be a little bit harder to put the shopping in the boot if that's what you do. But let's be fair, most of us have got a boot full of crap anyway. That's where we keep our weapons and our dead bodies. So what are we going to do? Anyway, so yeah, reverse park, keep a distance, ease off the gas when coming up to red lights. Try not to send Fireman Chris out to rescue because he could tell you some gory stories. And, you know, we don't want gory stories today. So anyway, that's a little bit of advice. I am going to keep doing these driving ones because it is something which amuses me, the inability of certain people to drive. But I think that's going to be it for now. Hope you're all having a good day wherever you are. You know, have a good morning, afternoon or evening, depending on what time of day it is. For me here, it's morning. A bit cloudy this morning. It's been nice the last few days, so hopefully the sun will come through soon, warm the world up, get me water feature in the garden going because it needs a bit of solar light. And we've only just put it out, so it's not really that charged. So it's not running today. So if in future you think, hey Andy, that's an awful long wee you're doing there. It's not me, it's the water feature. Anyway, if you did see this video through to the end, I'm sure you did, because why wouldn't you? Please do give us a thumbs up, leave a comment if you got any funny driving stories or funny YouTube videos about driving. There are many there, particularly like the woman who turns into her drive and then somehow manages to turn her car. That's a pretty good one, quite an old one there. There are thousands of bad drivers out there which we can rip the piss out of. I think that would be amusing. But yeah, give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, do please share. If you would, that would be amazing. Hope you're all well. Stay safe, people. See you, pals.